I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values, our feelings, or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I am Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Friday night stream. I got a cool set of topics here to talk about. Hopefully you will find them interesting. I'm going to try to get through it as coherently as possible. I'm a little scattered. Been rather busy, and having to catch up on sleep in the evenings, pretty much before my streams. So I'm always waking up in that sort of, all right, now I'm going to think and speak coherently to people. but we will get through it. We will get through it. Do have some important things to talk about, I think. So welcome. Great to see everybody here. Let me go ahead and welcome the chat. I don't know how far back my my window chat here goes, but I do see Melissa Harrison Sons first. So welcome to you. Nathaniel Zalozball, as always, great to see you. Bricker Custom. Says if there are Cowboy Bebop spoilers, I'll have it on mute and check in later since I have not watched and have seen it yet. No, I'm not going to do any spoilers. No, don't worry. No spoilers. Don't worry. Let's see who else is with us. Rose Amelia, welcome. Let's see. Guys chatting back and forth. Jason South, welcome. Back to the drawing board. Good to see you on that account again. Haven't seen you on that one in a while. Sir Torin Clegame. Finn McCool, welcome. Finn McCool says, only Professor Geek has the jewels to tell us the truth. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. You know, quite often it's Cassandra syndrome is what it is. If you know the story of Cassandra from Greek mythology, she was a priestess at the temple of Apollo in Troy. And Apollo tried to sleep with her. He wanted to take her as one of his concubines, and she refused him. And Apollo was so angry that he cursed Cassandra, and he said, well, as a punishment for denying me, because gods were very petty, he said, I'm going to give you the gift of prophecy. You're going to be able to predict the future, but no one will ever believe you. So enjoy that. And so she's like accurately predicting that the Greeks are going to come invade Troy, and she's predicting all these things that they could save themselves from if they would just listen to her, but no one would listen to her. So it's called Cassandra syndrome, when you're like the lone person speaking out the truth, and everybody's like, that's what I feel like quite a bit. Leia Plus Size, welcome. Great to have you. Everybody loved your Inspiration of Heroes stream the other night. MC Ofke, welcome. Autobot Mega Stream. There's my dear sound engraver. See, now I'm not going to throw her under the bus or anything, but she's the reason I might be a little jumbled tonight. I'm going to see her this weekend, so I'm all excited and getting things ready and everything. So we're gonna try and make sense of it all though. And lots of people. I see Big Al there. Welcome, Big Al. Don't know how long you're sticking around, but great to see you. And Troopers with us. Scott Pickering. Many people. Too many people to go through and welcome all, but you're all welcome and great to see you all. So, a few things. Let me say this up front first, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, slightly more in detail later. But I am going to offer a writing workshop. A few streams ago, through Friday night streams ago, people had been asking me for one. I never thought of giving one, but a number of different people were actually saying we'd be really interested in that. Of course, I'd offered my services as a an editor from time to time, either developmental editor or prose editor, copy editor, or whatever. But people seem to be interested now. So this is going to be the test. This is going to be the test here. If people are actually interested in terms of, hey, I will go ahead and pay for that service, then yeah, we'll do it. Everybody's interested before it comes to the time of payment. So what I'm going to do though, right now, I'm just going to put my email address. I should put it back in the description of the videos. I took it out at one point and I just never put it back in. But putting my email address in the chat, and if you're interested in getting on a mailing list for the Writers Workshop, just drop me an email there. Make sure I spelled that right. Yeah. Okay. So drop me an email there. Just say I want to be on the mailing list for the Writers Workshop, and I'll put you on that with the info. I'll talk a little bit more in detail later about the specifics of the service that it's going to offer and everything like that. But if people are on board for it, I'm willing to start as early as next week at some point, and it would be conducted in a way that you can do it at your own pace. You'll have one-on-one meetings with me, a couple meetings too, that'll be part of it. And we can schedule those at your leisure, and I'll have a specific video prompting things and whatnot that only go to people who are signed up for it. So that's the deal. We'll see if people are interested. But again, emails there in the chat, and if you want it again, you can ask for it again. I will give it again at the end of this stream, and then later on I will remember to put it actually in the description below. So there we go. Yeah, just send me an email so I have your emails there. So let's talk about the topic for tonight, though. A few streams ago, I made the comment that the whole go woke, go broke mentality or banner just doesn't work anymore. It should. We all know logically it should. But these companies, the Hollywood ideologues, they're not operating like any kind of logical business. They're not. Preaching their agenda is infinitely more important than making any money. They've proven that. I do see a couple super chats coming in, so maybe I should get those before I miss them. Owen Lister for $4.99. Thank you very much, sir. Said I may have been able to convince you to watch Guyver, but I got fan man interest. May not have been able to convince you to watch Guyver, but I got fan man interested. My Guyver cult is spreading. Stay tuned, Owen Lister. Stay tuned to the stream. Got something for you a little later. I'm laughing at my own joke. You guys know what I'm laughing about yet, but it'll be funny. And my dear sound engraver for $2. Happy to keep your mind all scattered on me. Well, Success, already done. So we do know this. We know that the companies are not interested in a profit. They're simply not. Otherwise, explain to me the sequel to Cruella already greenlit. Explain that to me. They're not interested in profits, guys. Some people in the company are, sure. Stockholders surely are. But the people in charge, the people making these calls and greenlighting these series or making this choice where we're going to do this series and not this series and so forth, they don't care. They don't care. And we're nowhere near a place where the organization of these companies is to the point where they can be made or ousted. The disease, the cancer, so to speak, of this wokeism ideologies just is so ingrained in these companies. And I'm not saying it's not some secret, it's not like Hydra exists, the Hydra of SJWs or something like that. I'm not saying that, but it's been growing. It has been growing within our systems. As I've said, it came from academia, and it's infiltrated different parts of society through governments, teachers coming out and trying to indoctrinate children and so forth. And it's there. Now, Faye James says they're not making Cruella 2. Did they change their tune on that? Because for a while there, they did greenlight it. They said they were making Cruella 2. But regardless, they've shown us that they don't care. They don't care about profits. If things ran according to a logical business, they would see that people aren't interested in these movies, and they would stop making those kind of movies, right? They would stop making the live action Disney remakes. They would stop making the live or the villain-centered films. They would stop making the films that pandered to the woke ideology. They would stop it with the Mary Sue type characters, who can do no wrong. They would do all of that. Oh, Faye James says, I just don't believe a sequel is made. Oh, well, they greenlit it. They said they're making it. Yeah, we'll see if that actually is going to be made. You're right. It could just be a front. It's just kind of a puffed up chest thing. Like, no, it's going to be made. Go ahead and go support the first one. It's not a one-off. Who knows? But the fact that they even, boldly released that. The fact that Disney can try and pander to the Mandalorian fans with one hand, and then with the other hand, talk about all of their Kathleen Kennedy run series that they're still putting out there, and they're indelibly linked to the Disney sequel trilogy series that they're putting out there, as the Mandalorian is too. People are just in this sort of insane denial about it. I mean, everybody's admitted it. Jon Favreau, Filoni, everybody's admitted it. But they are realizing, though, there's one thing they care about. So they don't care about profits. Then what do they care about? They care about spreading their doctrine. And they can't spread their doctrine if you're not watching their movies. We've seen this before. Remember, we saw this with the Birds of Prey film, the Harley Quinn fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, whatever that horrible movie was. And you remember when it came out and it was tanking. It was doing horribly. And the feminists everywhere were so mad. They were so mad at these evil hetero white men who won't go see that movie. Nothing about that movie says it would be appealing to anybody but a feminist. But if you weren't of their ideology already, then you should still pay your money and go and sit in that seat and listen to that message, and you let it seep in and you be preached to. It was the same thing with the Ghostbusters 2016 horrible thing. Feminists everywhere were so mad at us for not going and supporting that. So they do worry about whether or not we are in the seats to be preached to. And to a certain degree, they, on the surface, they might not even care about that so much, because their hatred of anybody that doesn't agree with them is such that, on Twitter exchanges or whatever, if you don't agree with them, you're automatically ignorant or evil. And the ignorant will very easily come over to their side. Anybody who gives them the slightest bit of resistance is evil and deserves to be canceled in every way. But, at some point, I think they are starting to realize it's kind of like the Joker. The Joker can't really keep being the Joker if Batman's not there. If Batman leaves, if Batman dies, what's the Joker doing any of it for, right? Because no one's there to validate him in opposition. That's what the ideologues are. Their whole system, their whole ideology is based on being a victim. And if no one's there victimizing them, or no one's there to be told about how much they're being victimized, then they're just, in a vacuum, and their existence becomes pointless in terms of their woke idealism. So they need that. They need us for that. And if we're not paying attention to them, that's the worst thing you can do. The absolute worst thing you can do to the woke ideologues and all of these properties and franchises and things they've infiltrated is ignore them. Ignore them. Spread the word about how they're bad, but do not watch them. Make them irrelevant. Stop squeeing about it. Stop saying, oh, maybe this will be that. Maybe this will be that. We'll get into some more of this in a second. Alec Purdue for $10. Very much appreciated, sir. Says, I'm a little ahead of schedule, but do you think that Powerhouse Animation has been compromised? The last 2 seasons of Castlevania and this upcoming He-Man series has me concerned. We're talking about that. We'll definitely be talking about that. Absolutely. Yeah, getting there. Yeah, hang tight. But that's a good point. It's a good point. And you're right. It has been. Everything's been infiltrated. There's no sacred ground anymore or source for entertainment. It's just not. So they will set up and take notice when there's no one around for them to tell how much they're being victimized to. There's no one around for them to blame and so forth. They're not going to stop preaching their agenda, but they will. As I call this stream, it's the new tactics. We do see that they are starting. It's not across the board yet, but they're starting to try some new tactics to try to bring people back into the seats, whether that's in front of their streaming service or in a theater or whatever. so that they can preach their message. And we're seeing a bunch of these tactics. Now, thinking where to start. I had a bunch of things up on that thumbnail. And as I say always, don't get ahead of me. You don't necessarily know if what I'm going to be saying about this or that thing on the thumbnail, unless I've already talked about it before. Maybe we'll talk about the He-Man thing first. Should I? Yeah. Let's talk about this first, and we'll come back to it in a second. But, well, before we talk about the He-Man thing, we've got to have to talk about Cruella and the Joker. One of their tactics, one of their tricks is to pre-establish the field for you to choose a side on. This is a trick that academia does all the time. This is a trick that, people, young kids, especially are even into grad school and whatnot, growing up, they're impressionable. And what is it ideally? What should higher education be? It should be a place where you learn how to independently think and to come up with your own conclusions and add your own thoughts and philosophies and answers to the world, right? That's ideally what it's supposed to be, but it's not. We all know that. But children don't, students don't, young adults don't. And the lie of higher academia, especially like graduate schools, the great lie of it is that they're teaching you to think for yourselves. And they contextualize it as they're the great liberator of the evil conservative society, So they'll say, for example, when I was working on my master's on English literature, it became very clear that you were only really allowed, or you would only be advanced, you would only be successful if you chose from one of the pre-approved critical theories, which are all of the same political philosophical mindset. So it was really ridiculous. They're telling you, okay, you independent thinker, get excited because now you get to choose whether or not you're going to be a feminist theorist, a Marxist theorist, a queer theorist, or a post-colonial theorist. Isn't that amazing? You get 4 choices, which are all the same. Every single one the same, go hand in hand. Those were the only ways you'd advance or you would get any kind of career in the field, just flat out. And it's become worse since I was there. That's why I switched to an MFA in creative writing, the terminal degree there, because it was, far better, at least in some institutions. But that's the same thing. That's what these companies are trying to do. They're trying to pre-approve and predefine a certain field for you to choose a side on. So when Cruella came out, automatically you saw a lot of sites in support of Cruella trying to pit it against the Joker movie. And oh boy, people love their Joker movie. Don't I know it? People have just gone insane. They just wet themselves all over the place because I dare criticize the Joker movie. How dare you? And why? Why? Again, not because, those people who just like the movie and don't agree with me, they don't care what I'm talking about. They don't worry about it. But a lot of people, support of the Joker movie is part of their self-identity as an anti-SJW. Right? All of their favorite YouTube high priests have said, this is the way you need to be an anti-SJW, support this movie and don't like this and support this person, but not that person and so forth. And the Joker movie is part of that. The Joker movie is part of their battle flag, So when supporters of Cruella are pitting it against the Joker movie, well, they're getting you to come out and talk about Cruella and hopefully watch it so that you can actually, I need to watch it so I can really compare and show people how much cooler the Joker is and whatnot. There are differences, sure. The point though, is that they're both villain-centric films. They've got you just flatly accepting villain-centric films. You think you're arguing, against one film and another, and you're arguing for one thing and not another. No, either side of that argument, you're cool with villain-centric films, so Disney can keep on making more of them and bringing people in. And the villain-centric films, as we talked about in previous streams, are the ideal vehicle for their outcast, minority, victim ideology. And they started doing that too. So this is one of their tactics. If we have something new we want you to accept, we'll pit it against something else so that you'll either accept the premise or something like, in a slightly different example, the Masters of the Universe Revelation. I don't know what in the world people were thinking yesterday it was like what? Now it's one thing if you loved the images that they came out with and you loved the synopsis. I'm totally in rabid disagreement with you, but it's one thing if you just loved all that and then you loved the trailer too. Okay, there's no logical issues there. But so many people that had so many issues with the synopsis, with the character designs and everything they put out, suddenly they see a little like 1.5-minute trailer. It's got some music and some cool editing and all, they got the feels and they're like, this could be so great. What did, as I said in my thumbnail, the last video, I'm like, are we just ignoring this? Are we just pretending that these character designs didn't happen? The synopsis is there, guys. And you would be, it's mind boggling to realize the way people have fallen all over themselves trying to justify having hope in this trailer, because the trailer was good. The 1.5-minute trailer was good, which is clearly, as I said in my last video, it's clearly just footage, or it's just showing you the bit of the series and like maybe the first half of the episode before that cataclysmic battle drives them all apart. And then you've got, feminist Tila and, getting her crew together to come, fix everything, the Tila-led series and the secrets and the drama and, all of that kind of nonsense, which isn't fitting to an aspirational hero tale. Because, again, people have tried to say, yeah, but in the comics and in the... No. You can't use any of those arguments because they have come out and officially said this is a sequel to the Filmation series. The Filmation series set up certain themes, certain standards that do not work with the mini comics or certain other aspects of the mythology that have developed on their own sort of Elseworld type strands or whatever. So you can't have that argument. But people have been making all kinds of justifications. I've heard so many things. I've heard, the synopsis is very plain. The synopsis says this is the story of Tila after this cataclysmic event, reuniting the team and them trying to come to terms with the way, how Adam's kept the secret from her. And I'm sure it's the sorceress keeping the secret from her, being a mother and blah, blah, blah. Drama, things that shouldn't be an aspirational hero story. And Tila-centric instead of He-Man-centric. Kevin Smith is trying his best to deny that out of one side of his mouth. And yet just the other day, it was either yesterday or the day before on Geek Week, he came out and reaffirmed that synopsis of the series. It's going to be a Tila-led series. Tila, he wouldn't say Tila-led, but it's going to be about Tila reuniting the team and so forth. So people are trying to say, well, maybe the series is going to be, that Tila stuff, that'll just be like a flashback. And the series will be about what happens after she gets the team together. No, did you read the synopsis? This isn't how language works. They are very clear. Kevin Smith was very articulate and abundantly clear in this synopsis. That is what the series is going to be about. And people are trying to say, well, maybe they saw the reaction to the synopsis and now they're trying to do something different and they're not going to go that way, but they can't really change the synopsis. Yeah, and maybe I'm going to ride a unicorn over a rainbow in my backyard tonight. What? I mean, it's just ridiculous. The ways that people are trying desperately to justify that the synopsis doesn't exist. The synopsis came out. The synopsis is what it is. They've admitted it. They've doubled down on it. Netflix just re-released it. I mean, that's what the series is going to be about, folks. And it's very telling. It's very telling that the trailer that they put out to try to lure you in doesn't include any of the character designs or the things that people were taking issue with, and only sticks to a portion of the story that is apart from the main portion that people are taking issue with. And just because they threw in a little cool music and some cool edits, everybody was just willing to just forget all of that. And it's going to be amazing. What are we thinking, guys? Come on. It's kind of like, they're like children. They're like children. And their parents have said, okay, guys, tonight we're going to have Brussels sprouts for dinner. Like, oh, this is garbage, man. This is going to be horrible. And their parents bring in the Brussels sprouts in a McDonald's Happy Meal box. And they smell the Brussels sprouts. They see the Brussels sprouts in the box, but they're starting to think, maybe there's only like 2 Brussels sprouts on top. And then there's like cheeseburgers underneath. Guys, stop. So it's dishonest what they did with the trailer. They know what they're doing. They're nostalgia baiting. They're trying very much to see if they can still swindle you in. And most of you are going to watch it. And I say you in general. I know many of you in the chat aren't of that persuasion, but they've got you. They've got you. As I've said, they don't care what you think about it after you've watched it. You watched it, gave it your rating, gave it your support. Who cares what you think after that? So when they say that, getting back to the tactic here, now they're trying to pit, and I've seen this a number of places, the Masters of the Universe Revelation series against the She-Ra series. And I've heard this argument. Oh my gosh, this is a silly. If your defense of a franchise, if your defense of a series starts with, I told Sound Engraver and I were talking about this the other night. If your defense of a series or a franchise starts out with the two words, at least, then that's no defense. And that's what people are saying. Well, at least the Masters of the Universe series isn't going to be as bad as the She-Ra series. At least the character designs are better than the She-Ra series. At least, at least, that's no defense. That's not in any way a justification for supporting this garbage. I mean, at least, as I always go to, my go-to example here, at least this bowl of ice cream of dog poo in the ice cream dish has sprinkles on it. That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it something you should go eat or consume in any way. It's but they do these tactics. They know that people identify. They identify so strongly with being part of this ideology or against this ideology. You know, that this anti-SJW syndrome. And what I mean is, of course, we're all here. I would say we're anti that ideology, but there's an identity that's kind of like a community that's kind of arisen, and not everybody in the community is culpable of this or anything, but there is a community mindset that okay, well, this is who I belong to. I belong and I identify with the anti-SJW ideology, and so we have to support this kind of thing and not this kind of thing. And it's led by certain YouTubers. You know, some YouTubers knowingly or not knowingly, that they hold sway here, and they, because I've seen this. People have argued with me whenever I speak out against something that goes against that narrative. You know, whenever I talk about how the Siege of Mandalore is garbage and no one should be supporting this nonsense, and Dave Filoni doesn't know what he's doing, one of the defenses I get is people say, well, so-and-so YouTuber liked it. Well, the so-and-so YouTuber liked it. What has that got to do with anything in the world that I just said? But that's their thinking is, yeah, but if you're against that, then you should be in line with this narrative as espoused from these certain YouTubers. No, you should actually think for yourself, and you should actually not be a part. I mean, we're against ideology. Don't form a new ideology in opposition to the other one. That's not the answer. So they play to that. They know people are in these sort of identity camps, and that's how they can try to get people talking about Cruella and watching Cruella by pitting it against the Joker, because they know people are going to get invested in that argument. This is how they can get people on board, or at least curious about, just to watch it. That's all I need you to do is watch it. The Master of the Universe Revelation series, because hey, pitted against the She-Ra series, it's better than that. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. They're both pushing the same agendas from their character designs. It's just in a different way. Very different styles, but the same thing there. You know, I talked about that at length, in depth, in my No Agenda Here, video. So yeah, this is one of their tactics. And to go into Alec Purdue's question about Powerhouse, who is the company who's doing the He-Man or the Masters of the Universe Revelation series. This plays into the next tactic here. And the other two things I had on the thumbnail there were the title card for the new, and if you don't know about it, I'll explain a little bit about it, but the new anime Lord of the Rings film that's just been announced and fast-tracked, and they're working on it now. And then the little image that I had there of one of the live-action castings for the Cowboy Bebop show. All right, so hang on. Let me heaven help me here. I'm going to be talking about anime for a second. This is something I don't do. I've stopped talking about anime because of the incessant, relentless, annoying badgering from anime fans. So as I talk about anime, I just want to put up this disclaimer right there. Stop you in your tracks. Don't want to hear it. Don't care. I'm talking about this because it's relevant to this. Not interested. Okay. Because I started watching some anime and I like some anime, and oh my gosh, you give them an inch and they'll beat you with a mile. So let's talk about this. Okay. Now, as far as the anime film for the Lord of the Rings, I maybe it'll be good. Who knows, right? I'm not. They all they gave us is a title card and a little bit of information. And actually, it's what's his name? I'm gonna butcher his name, but Kenji Kamicha, or I forget his last name. But he's the director from the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, which was an amazing series. That truly is one heck of a series. Really deep, wonderful themes, and really philosophical. He's the director of this film. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. It means they got somebody who understand or did a good anime once. Doesn't mean he's going to do a good Lord of the Rings series. So it could go either way, this film. But my point about it is a couple things. First of all, what they're banking on is the fact that they're reading the culture. They're reading things. They're seeing that people are reading manga more than American comics. They're seeing people talk about how they're preferring just anime versus Western animation and so forth. They see that. So what do? They just start doing anime themselves and putting their own agendas into the anime. As Alec Purdue mentioned, the Castlevania. Now, I haven't watched the Castlevania series, but everybody, it seems was really pretty uniformly against what they did in season 3. Some people are even against what they did in season 1 and 2 with some character changes and whatnot. And it comes to this word anime. What is the definition of anime? And I'm not asking any of you. I know you guys can give me textbook definitions, but I'm saying in our culture right now, it's a very fluid term. I mean, technically, anime is just the Japanese word or term for animation. So any kind of animation that's done in Japan. Well, then how is that really the case? I mean, would we really call the original Thundercats series anime in all the other ways you would speak about anime? I mean, it was an American series just outsourced to Japan for certain the animation there. The Powerhouse, the Masters of the Universe, that people are saying that's anime. It's anime. Well, Powerhouse is in Austin, Texas. They're going to outsource some things. Is that really enough to call it anime? But they know the term is fluid enough because they see people, and I've seen these comments all the time, and I understand the sentiment behind it. I really do. And I share the frustration. But people are starting to say things like, this is why I'm done with Western animation. I watch anime. Okay, so what they mean, though, by that is they watch the anime series that have already kind of proven their worth. What these Hollywood ideologues here is, so all we have to do is just fly our stuff under the anime banner and people will come to it. People will check it out, especially if we get some certain people to work on it. Like the Cowboy Bebop live action series. I think we're pretty much all in agreement, or at least at the point when they released the fact that this was going to be a thing on Netflix, everybody is thinking no one asked for this. Cowboy Bebop was epic. Far too short, but I mean immensely epic series. From the story to the characterizations to the animation, certainly the soundtrack, the epic soundtrack. I mean, this was an amazing series, and then the film that they did to kind of fill it in and stuff. It was wonderful in every way. No one said, hey, that needs a live action remake. Because, I mean, look at the live action remakes they did. What was it? Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist. I mean, Netflix doesn't have a good track record with this stuff. But they know that anime title is a powerful one because a lot of you will just automatically perk up when you hear that word anime. So they start flying their own agendas under that anime flag and banner because it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it's such a thinned out, term that it can mean anything. They just outsource a little bit to Japan or take some inspiration from a little bit of a character design and they call it anime. And it's not really anime, right? So they just released the other day. I don't know if some of you caught it, but they got and I forget his name completely, but the guy who did the music, the soundtrack or the scores for Cowboy Bebop, the guy who's responsible for all that wonderful music in the animated series is now going to be scoring the live action series. And I saw on Twitter the responses and everybody it was just there was it was unanimous. The sentiment that I don't think I like this live action Cowboy Bebop series, but now that they got him doing the music, well, maybe now could be. They know what they're doing, guys. They know what they're doing. Do you really think just because they get this person from Ghost in the Shell to work on a series, or this person from Cowboy Bebop to work on a series, that's going to stop them from putting in their agenda. In the case of Netflix, they've already proven that that's what they do with anime. Again, Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist was, both incarnations of that was quite epic. You know, both the original that outgrew the manga, and then the Brotherhood, you know, in particular, was wonderful. You don't need any more Full Metal Alchemist. Well, they got to do a live action of it or whatever. They got to keep doing something, you know, and everybody saw that and thought it was garbage. I never watched Death Note myself, but that's another one they did. And then, and now they're doing Cowboy Bebop. Now, again, I don't know anything more specifically about these two, the Lord of the Rings anime film and the Cowboy Bebop live action. Yes. As far as I know, I haven't heard any deal breakers in terms of the actual story content or the actual portrayals, you know, on screen. I haven't heard any specific hardcore deal breakers. I can show you and say this is why that's not going to work and it's horrible. So yes, it is possible, however improbable, it is possible that New Line Cinema's Lord of the Rings film might be really cool. It's possible. They've got somebody who's proven to be a good storyteller. We'll see if he even knows Lord of the Rings or is remotely good at that kind of adaptation. It's possible. We need to change our default reaction to these kinds of announcements. This is the key, and this is our response. So this is my wrap up of the new tactics portion of what they're doing here. The reason their new tactics like this are so successful, and they're proving successful already, and they're doing it more and more, where they're trying to predefine an argument and pit us against this side or that side, or you know, fly something under the anime banner and just automatically count on your interest and your curiosity and your clicks and your money, and you're going to watch it, you know, that kind of thing. The reason they can do that is because our default response to stuff like this in the media today is still, in general, with everyone, it's still, oh, I hope that's good. Oh, that sounds really cool. I hope that's good. I hope that's good. How many more times do you have to be burned by the fire before you temper that? I mean, it's naive. People, you guys are like Bullwinkle trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat. This time for sure. You know, it's like, you sound so ridiculous. This next series, this next one, you're so negative, Prof. You're so all the time. You're just, you know, you just got a problem with everything. And I'm logical. I read the signs and I see, and I'm not going to keep putting my hand in the flame thinking this time it won't burn me. That's silly. So now I'm not necessarily arguing that, as some people do, that the answer then is to completely automatically be against anything released, right? Because as I'm about to say this, I just see Nathaniel Zlozball put out, you mentioned Godzilla versus Kong. That's the exception to the rule, right? Godzilla versus Kong. I couldn't remember being excited for a movie. I couldn't remember feeling pretty confident that I was going to like a movie as it, you know, was on its way to being released. I mean, I seriously couldn't remember a time. It was before Captain Marvel in the MCU. That's how long it had been. Because the MCU at that time had proven to be, you know, concerned with story, not agenda, and so forth. So it had been a long time. And something like the Godzilla versus Kong can still happen, as we see it did happen. It's rare. It's very rare. But my point is, our default reaction needs to stop being, immediate interest, immediate excitement. Like, I hope they don't mess this up. We need to temper that. We need to start saying, as I'm saying with the Lord of the Rings movie, yeah, that's probably going to be a dumpster fire. I don't know that it is, and I'm not completely writing it off. I will continue to hear the updates as they come out and be looking in each of those updates for a deal breaker. And if I don't see a deal breaker, and there's nothing to tell me that this, you know, maybe I'll go check it out. Maybe I will watch it to see, right? But we need to see this, and it's so hard to stick to that medium ground. People like to be reactionary. It's easier to just write everything off and hate everything, or to love everything and give everything a chance because you haven't seen it yet and blah, 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 you know. But to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to give it to not just give it a chance automatically, but I'm going to read the evidence. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to look for deal breakers. Discerningly educate yourself about it before it's released. Get out of this stupid mindset, I just got to go see it before I can judge it. No, you don't. Once you've seen it, you've supported it. No one cares what you think about it at that point, as I've said. So beforehand, read those releases. Look at the people involved. Look at what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're behaving. You know, these are things that'll tell you if it's worth watching or not. It's kind of like it's the same thing that I'm doing with Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I haven't really, it's been a while since I've looked for updates on that. So maybe they've released something that once I hear about it, I will say, oh no, that is a deal breaker or something. I don't know. But so far, I haven't seen anything that's a real deal breaker yet. You know, I kind of like the things they're doing. I like the people involved. I like the premise. In a lot of ways, it's not what we would have liked, but it's too much time has passed, of course. You know, not everybody's alive and so forth to really have what we would have liked. So it can't be, you know, that anymore to a certain degree. So yeah, I haven't really had any deal breakers yet. Again, I haven't, you know, most recently in the last week or something, read up the updates and stuff like that. But so I'm gonna, you know, keep following that to see. But my default view isn't. I'm not squeeing about every little trailer they release. I'm not going, oh, this is gonna be so amazing. Please don't mess this up. Oh, no. And that kind of behavior, it shows this need for. Again, it's more about community. I've talked about this. It's more about people just needing to share an excitement over a new series together online and feel like they're one. They're part of the hashtag, you know, they're part of a community. They, you know, especially when they hear their 2 or 3 favorite YouTubers, you know, support this narrative of how we should react to this or that, you know, and they're part of that, and they're you know, in the comment section and so forth. That's more important to people, identity and belonging, than it is actually getting good stories. And that's a problem. So they're devious. They've got new tactics. They're starting to figure out that Cruella 2 isn't going to let them preach to anybody new. It's not going to bring anybody new in for them to tell about how they're victimized and how you should feel bad about yourself because of the color of your skin, right? That's what it's basic racism. It's basic racism. Absolutely. You know? So yeah. Gamer62589 didn't wait but a slipping second until I took the banner down before he gave me an anime recommendation. Watch Lupin the Third the First. It's very satisfying to watch. Sure it is. And I thank you for the super chat. I really do. But I'm not going to watch it. I'm just not. If you're interested in talk about that, though, on my channel, I do recommend going to my Inspiration of Heroes streams in a series and go back to Aged Boomers, because Aged Boomers talked, Lupin was one of his heroes that he looked up to. And he did talk, and he was telling me a lot about the character and how he inspired him and stuff like that. So it's interesting. Yeah. Checking in with the chat. See Melissa Harris. Preach, Professor. Thank you. Alec Purdue. Dude, I think that's when I said I'm not going to watch it. Look, no means no. There should be a hashtag Me Too for people who are badgered by anime fans about things. And the fact is, you know, it's not no. I mean, hey, maybe I will watch this or that, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I'm not going to. Who could possibly remember all of the things that people beg you to watch and tell you about? And some people. Now, what you said about Lupin, what I heard about Lupin from Aged Boomer, it doesn't sound like anything that I wouldn't like, you know. But some people, it's very clear that some people, when they recommend things to you, it's more about them wanting you to know and associate them with their favorite franchise than it's actually about them thinking you'll like it. People keep recommending Berserk to me, and I've looked into Berserk, and what makes you think I would like that? People recommended Invincible to me, which isn't anime, but still, like, what makes you think I would like that? You liked it and you wanted to talk about it. So like, you should really watch that. Gamer652 says, all right, fine, I'll leave you be, but you don't know what you're missing. for what it's worth, gamer, and I do appreciate your super chat. For what it's worth, I do believe you. I'm sure it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's not going to be anything that I get to watch anytime soon. Sound Engraver for $2 says Animitude. That's right. Hashtag Animitude. That's a good way of doing it. No means no. No, I mess with you guys too. I know Owen Lister is always Guyver. You watch Guyver? Guyver's cool. he likes to push my buttons about that. I know. So I'm not like upset or angry about it, but it is something that, I mean, anime fans are passionate about what they love, and they will jump right in a stream and overcome it and overtake you with recommendations. One time I actually, in my naivete, when I was first watching some anime series, actually asked for recommendations, and I quickly became overwhelmed, and I had to tell you guys, stop. And then some guy emailed me after that. He's like, well, if you need any recommendations you haven't gotten yet, come see me. Okay, take a breath. You're good. I get it. You like anime. You're fine. Owen Lister says you keep trying to search my email but had no luck, or you mean search for it? Let me put my email in the chat one more time. Again, for those who are interested in the writer's workshop that I'll be offering, and I can talk about that more in a second here. But you need to send me an email, because if everybody's giving me their emails in the chat, I just that's too much for me to go through and pick through the long chat, to see emails and whatnot. So send me an email to this one here. I should get it, but Owen, you can Facebook message me too, or something like that. I think if for some reason like it's hitting my spam box or something, but I'll check all that too. Do have another super chat here. Thank you very much from Snacks and Comics, $5. Snacks and Comics. That's a nice name. That sounds like a good time. Netflix is also doing. That's right. A Gundam live action. The director knows his Gundam, but The Witcher and other Netflix shows, I worry. Yeah, I forgot to read that. Yeah, that was part of the point about how the ideologues are realizing that anime is the key. Anime is the way to get them back in the seats so we can preach to them. Netflix just came out. I mean, Netflix, of all people, who have just they're known for messing up anime. They just released a whole slate of new series coming. So yeah, the Gundam series you're talking about, Shaman King, Eden Zero, never heard of these. Not that I would. Exception, which is like a horror anime apparently. Bright Samurai Soul, Make My Day, another Godzilla Singular Point, and I've heard that, I haven't watched them, but I've heard that their Godzilla anime stuff doesn't really measure up to Godzilla fans. So yeah, they know it. They're in the know. They see people in the comments about how we prefer anime, and why are people saying they prefer anime? They're saying they prefer anime because anime doesn't have all of the nonsense, right? The classic anime and the stuff that's already out there. That culture, that Japanese culture, resists that kind of ideology and resists that kind of agenda being pushed through the stories in general. Hopefully, audiences are smart enough to realize that those responsible for the agenda who suddenly say, well, we'll do anime too. That's not anime anymore then. Preferring anime is no longer preferring anime at that point, because you've got the ideologues just doing their anime. So it's but people are going to do it. Base Child 77 for $5 says, can you please talk about aspirational hero arcs? I mean, that's kind of a yes, but that's kind of a broad question. I mean, that's what I talk about on my channel all the time. I don't know exactly what you mean, or what I'm trying to honor your super chat there to think of something to say, but it's kind of a big term, like where to start, or I don't know what specifically you're asking about it. But in general, I can say that one of the biggest misconceptions about aspirational heroes, and I talk about this on my channel a lot, it's kind of a major theme, is that the aspirational hero is boring. They're too two-dimensional. They're not realistic. They're not relatable. Blah blah blah. And that's so not the case at all. So not the case at all. If you go back and listen, talking about my Inspiration of Heroes series again, the other night I had Leia Plus Size here in the chat on there, and she, for her like first three heroes, I mean, it was just like segued perfectly from Luke Skywalker to Chris Reeves Superman to Chris Evans Captain America before pre-Endgame, Captain America. And that was amazing. I mean, all of those are wonderfully aspirational heroes, and yet each character has some doubts and has to grow and has to learn things, but they never doubt and they never question and they never have to learn to be good, or whether it's good to do the right thing, whether people in life is sacred and people deserve to be saved. No, that's in them from the start. It's organic, it's aspirational, it's in them from the start. You can't learn that. You can't learn that and be an aspirational hero. That's just doesn't how that archetype works. But they can learn how to be more efficient. They can have doubts about their ability to accomplish something, and we'll learn and gain that self-confidence. Sure. So, again, Alec Purdue, I see you dropping your Gmail account, but really you've got to email me. Email me to this address. You guys are seeing the address, aren't you? Or is it not showing up? It's showing up to me. It's j.michaelkreitzer@gmail.com. Yeah, make sure you email me there, so that'll be easier for me to see everybody's email, because I just can't go through the chat. Gets really lengthy and goes fast and stuff, and I just that take me a great deal of time to go back through and try and pick out everybody who wrote an email address in there. So yeah, make sure you email me at that address, and then I'll put you on the list, and I'll be sending out the list probably, if not tonight, tomorrow, with details about the workshop. The first, I'll give you some details about that now. I guess we can move on to talking about that a little bit now, because we're about an hour in. Okay, Nathaniel says you do see the address. Good. Okay, so, and I will, after the stream is done and I'm talking and everything, I'll put the email address in the description as well. But MC Offkey says when you get the proper email address, the Professor Geek icon shows up. I don't know what that means. Cross relationship anime fans is like an insistent drug dealer's relationship with someone he's trying to get hooked. So for the writing workshop, I actually have a series of them in mind, right? Because the general idea of a writing workshop is that you work from some sort of prompt. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to write something new. It can be something you're already working on, but you can find out whatever portion of that thing you're already working on applies to this prompt or whatever. So a couple prompts in mind. The first one that I'm going to start with is how to begin your story. And that means hook the reader in terms of content and prose, but it also means that the beginning, the first 2 pages of your story are a good beginning to the trajectory of the hero that you want, to happen there. So that'd be the first one. The second workshop would be on world building, I think. And the reason that you might think that should be first, but the reason I'm doing that second is because honestly, the first step in world building is not to imagine this wonderful big world. You can get lost in that and never actually write a story. The first step in world building is to have some sort of general idea about the story and the character you want, the story of the character you want to tell through there. Then you build the world around it to suit that. Otherwise, I mean, you can start world building first, but you're just playing imagination at that point. You're just world building. You're not telling a story. You're Tolkien writing the Silmarillion, and that's wonderful if you're Tolkien and if you've already written The Hobbit and if you've already hooked people in with stories. So that's why I would start first. The first workshop would be how to begin your story, hook people, and in general, the way it would run, and this is what I've got in mind now as we do it, and if I see things would work a little better this way or that way, or I get feedback after we've run them a couple times, and I'm happy to alter things in general. But in general, the way you run a workshop, especially online like this, I would provide at first a video prompt, a good in-depth video laying out all the aspects that you need to consider in the beginning of a story. And again, this can be something that you're going to take from that and actually start writing it out, or it can be something that you're working on and you take the beginning of that story and then apply it to what I'm saying and see if that works. That's fine. And again, this is, anybody, well, let me finish what I'm saying there. So we'll, you'll have that in-depth video first, which will only the people who sign up will have access to that. And then you will be able to send me your draft up to 2 pages, double spaced. And then you'll have access to a conference with me. So you'll, about 30, 35-ish, 40 minutes or so like that. You can divide this up as you want. Some people in the past, when I've done like editorial jobs, some people like to talk to me before I read their draft so that they can kind of give me a heads up about what they're trying to do and ask me some specific questions. Okay, have this in mind when you read this draft because this is one of my questions about it or something. That's fine. So we could split that time up. I can't go over that time with each person because I'm only charging $30 right now. This is worth far more than that. But I realize that the audience here I'm talking to, I'm not dealing with millionaires here. And these are people who are beginning writers and trying to, to make the scene and stuff like that. So they can't afford. I mean, honestly, I am a published writer. I am a writing professor. I am an MFA. I am a literature professor. I mean, I could be charging $100 for this easy. But I'm not because I want to give people a chance, to access to it and, play to that. But whether you choose to do the meeting with me beforehand or not, you can still get that meeting time after I've given you feedback on the draft. So you send me your draft, I make all kind of edits and comments, and stuff like that on the draft, give it back to you, and then you have a that set amount of time. We can do a conference via Zoom or something like that, and you can ask me any questions about those comments I made. We can just make sure that you've got a good knowledge and a good way to jump forward and move forward as you continue to write or continue to revise and so forth. So the first one will be on beginning your story. That's a logical place to begin, right? And we don't have to do the next one on world building. That's just another one that we can do. If people like another topic or something, or that's more in demand, we can talk about that. But there are a lot of aspects to beginning a story, I mean, I'll talk about it in the actual video I make, but you've got to think about that on every level. Content, certainly. You've got to think about tension, hooks. You got to think about the prose. Specifically, that first sentence is the syntax of that first sentence enticing enough. You're not C.S. Lewis. You're not Neil Gaiman. You're not Stephen King. You're not a known writer whose name is going to hook people in. You've got to do the work with your story, with your prose. That's your sword as a writer. Your weapon is your prose, and some writers just don't pay any attention to that. They think all they have to worry about is the story. But if your prose doesn't sing, then no one cares about the story because they can't understand it or they don't experience it the way. It'll be PayPal, MCOfsky. So let me put my email address there again one more time. Send me, those who are interested, like I said, send me an email. I'll send out a group email, once I get it all compiled with all the info and the ways to do it. And always making sure I'm talking while I'm writing, and that's never good. So making sure I'm spelling that correctly. Serotonin Click Game said, "What if it's a comic? How would you go about that?" Then you just send me the comic script. Yeah, the script for the comic. It'd be too hard. I don't think I can do an already illustrated comic, like finished comic pages. I mean, I could, but that'd be just on such a different level. It'd have to be the comic script. 2 first pages of the comic script, double spaced, and I've done that many times before. Yeah, I've looked at a lot of and commented on and helped people develop. There's one John Schuler's comic right now that it's almost live on Indiegogo. He's got like a live comic or a free digital comic available right now to kind of advertise it. But it looks really cool. And this is a sci-fi story, a sci-fi comic that I helped him develop. He hired me as a developmental editor back in the day, and we've worked on this a couple times. I've been over multiple drafts. I'll drop the link in the chat. It's it's pretty cool. Nope, these are just images. Oh, come on. He told me he dropped the link here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Well, I'll do that. This is his free digital comic that he's just allowing to anybody out there. It's a Dropbox, but it's free to anybody. This is the digital comic, which is like a prequel to the actual thing. So there's that. But then if you want his pre-campaign page, I'll drop that too. That you can sign up for email updates and whatnot. But it looks pretty cool. So yeah, people have. I mean, this is something I do. This is not something new. I mean, I've been a professional editor for a while. Freelancing and whatnot. And I used to do it professionally on like universities and stuff like that. Different types of writing, obviously. But yeah. So question. Absolutely, my awesome son. Professor would be will the writing workshop be relevant if we're writing a comic? Absolutely. Comic graphic novel is the same thing. Anything that I say about like the prose or whatever, I would still adapt, whether you're literally writing prose or you're writing for a comic, because prose is part of comic writing too. The dialogue, the caption boxes, all of that, it's still relevant and everything. So yeah, it'd be very easy for me to tailor it to both people writing prose and people writing comic scripts. Absolutely. And if it seems like, if, for example, if everybody who signed up was only writing comic scripts, then I would tailor it specifically to comic scripts, because I've done that before. I've got experience with that. So yeah. So Torn Game said there's no artwork, just a script written out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, no problem. And script writing too. There's some different templates and different styles of script writing, so sometimes I can comment on I think if you shaped it like this, it might be a little better, a little bit more clear for your artist and letterer and everybody who's gonna read that and draw from it and so forth. So yeah. Andres Hernandez says, what about cartoon scripts? I guess you mean like scripts for animation. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. No problem. That's just the first 2 pages of it. Yeah, not a problem. So yeah, so the email's there, and I'll put it in the description below. I'll drop the email one last time, just for people who are have missed it or whatever. But yeah, so I will some point this weekend, at least by the end of this weekend, you'll receive an email, a group email from me, which is and I'll have your addresses blind copied, so no one else is going to see that info. But I might sign them up and like do a MailChimp thing or something. I don't know. I might just do another service to make it easier. But I'll give you the info, the specifics of the info. And again, it'll be tailored to your schedule within a certain time frame, like within a few weeks or whatever that we're doing it. You can decide when the conferences, work, according to my schedule and yours, whatever. You can, look at the video and write when you want to. So it's not going to be like you've got to be available on this date and we're going to do it live on Zoom. That's just too hard to coordinate. So yeah. Oh, let's just say I never wrote a script for a comic. I just draw the panels and illustrations and add the dialogue later. Well, yeah, that's the privilege of people like you who are an artist and a writer, right? So that's you don't necessarily need to go by a script. I would still recommend it. I think it could only help your story if you scripted it out first. But somebody who can draw and write at the same time doesn't necessarily have to. So but the only thing is, I can't really help you. If you wanted my opinion on it and stuff like that. It's just a very different beast looking at. See, the thing, if somebody gave me an illustrated comic, a couple pages of an illustrated comic, problems or issues or critiques that I might have might be a fault of the art and not necessarily the writer's responsibility of it. And I'm not a trained artist, so I could give you a reader's perspective on that, but no, it's no, if I'm charging for this, it has to be for my expertise, so then that's the writing. So yeah, that's why I can only really comment on a script. But, if you do have a comic written out already, it wouldn't be hard to, retroactively write a script from those 2 pages or whatever, that wouldn't be an issue. Is workshop like a class? I mean, like an online class, kind of. Like I'll give you the video, you watch it at your pace, when you want, as you want. And then we work out the conference dates, and you work out when you're going to turn in the draft for me to take a look at, so that I can give you comments back on it and stuff. So yeah, sort of like an online class might be, like an asynchronous online class might be conducted. Sure. So, yeah. So I think we're done with the content for tonight. Like I said, I only go about an hour with these, and we are at that a little bit over, but I gave info about the writing workshop too. Like I said, more details will come, specifics will come in the mailing list that's going to come out. But if anybody has specific questions that they kind of need to know before they go into it, or send an email, you can do that. But what's coming up from my channel? I'm still continuing the Inspiration of Hero videos. People seem to like those, and they're from this book that I had released from Hero House Publishing, which went under, unfortunately, during the COVID quarantine. And so the book's not available anymore. I probably will revamp it and rewrite it in terms of a different context or whatever to eventually sell again. But in the meantime, I'm letting it serve my channel by making these little videos on the chapters. So you see that in my, I don't know if I've made it a playlist yet. I should make it a playlist, but you can see in my recent videos, you'll see the thumbnail has the cover of this book and then the hero that it's talking about or whatever. So I've done Fantastic Four, Superman, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Batman. The last one I did was Cassandra Cain's Batwoman. And I think the next one coming up to either tomorrow or this weekend, I forgot when I scheduled it, is Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire, Power Man and Iron Fist, classic Power Man and Iron Fist from the first comics. So that'll be good. So yeah. So that's coming up, some videos this weekend. Monday night, again, is my gaming night now. And I did finish Knights of the Old Republic right up to the point of the final battle of Darth Malak. So if you want to come laugh at me, get my butt kicked a number of times before I can finally beat him, you can come do that Monday with me. When we do finish that game out there in the end, we will go ahead and do Knights of the Old Republic 2. Continue people's story through the wonderful Star Wars EU. That's why I'm doing the book studies and everything, is to keep the EU alive. Disney wants to pretend it never existed. Disney wants to twist it. Take all the good ideas from it and try and repurpose it for their agendas. And nope, that won't stand. We're keeping the EU alive by making it relevant and keeping it before people. So playing those games live for people who aren't necessarily gamers and wouldn't get the stories otherwise. But then on Thursday nights, last Thursday night, we just started our book study, Al and I, of on the stream here, of the Darth Bane trilogy. We're going through that right now. The first book, Path of Destruction. So yeah, we've been kind of dotting around the EU doing book studies, and people really seem to like that. They're great. So you can grab a copy of that. I'll put the link to grab a copy of that in the description later when I do that as well. Ed Star, thank you so much for the super chat. $20 super chat. Excellent discussion. I'm expanding my reading list. You're the man. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate your support too. Never expected, but certainly appreciated. So thank you for that. And Owen Lister, always there with the super chats. Very much appreciate your $4.99. So will you do an audiobook of Heroic Inspirations with better sound quality? Oh, you mean better sound quality than my videos? If I was going to do an audiobook, I would definitely not just do it with my equipment. I would go into a professional studio and do that. That's an idea, though. It's an idea. At this point, I'd probably wait until I do rewrite it and put it in a different context and so forth, and ready to release it again, hard copy, and then I would release an audiobook at the same time. But that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about it. So yeah, it's a good idea. It's sound quality. I don't know. What's wrong with the sound quality of my my Heroic? Well, no, yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right. Some of those some of those heroic inspiration videos I did do a long time ago on a very different setup. And this setup isn't without its issues, but when I was still learning some things. So yeah, actually I have to take that back. You're right. Some of the quality of it was a little quirky in some of those videos. I'm doing them new now, with this current setup. So Sound Engraver, this is a good point. Yeah, listen, here's her analysis of the He-Man theme music. Yes. Check that out, because she did a series. She started a series, and you can see the link that you actually click on is in the chat there. But she started a series, I forget what she called it, but she was analyzing heroic themes, and it's really amazing. She's done so far the Masters of the Universe theme and John Williams' Superman score, and she's already got notes and everything to do more of them. It's going to be amazing. But she, I just got out of my YouTube chat window. I don't know if it'll show up any easier if I drop the link. Probably not, because she's an admin too. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out, because that's her expertise. She's educated and knows her stuff. She's an expert in music, and it's really cool. So check that out. Do you see Matt Wilkins in the chat? Welcome, Matt. Good to see you. I think you said something up here before I missed it. That was a good stream on Darth Bane. Oh, cool. I'm glad you liked it. Couldn't watch it live, sadly, but got to catch the next day. Cool. Excellent. Yeah. As I said on that, it's kind of I didn't plan that, but it was kind of serendipity that I ended up doing a book study on something like Darth Bane at the same time that I'm lamenting the focus on villain-centered stories. Because Darth Bane, even though it's called Darth Bane, he's not the protagonist of the tale. He's a protagonist, and it certainly is. The trilogy's chronicling his journey and coming about with this rule of two and how it's implemented and how it's going to shape the Sith in the Star Wars universe to come. But he's not your only protagonist. You're pulling for the heroes, and you've there's specific things that I point out in the study, how which you're never asked to invest or to be sympathetic or pulling or rooting for him in any way. So it's well done. It's well done. And Drew Karpyshyn, of course, is maybe you can confirm this for me, Matt. I've been told by everywhere that he's he's behind a lot of the writing for the Knights of the Old Republic games and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Nathaniel Loseball, did you buy my book? Yeah, there is a chapter on Kamala Khan, and I do regret it. All I can say in defense of it is that it was a long time ago, before all of the nonsense really started with Kamala Khan. And that initial story, because I did it on her initial first kind of origin story, is a pretty interesting story. You know, you'll hear Zach, your boy Zach, talking about that too. I didn't want to include stuff like that, but the publishing house, this is one of the reasons why I'm going to rewrite this before I make it available again, is the publishers, when I initially pitched it to them, they liked the idea, and I initially turned in the manuscript, and one of their things was, can we make it more diverse? Can we make it more diverse? Which is stupid, right? But I wanted a publishing credit, so I was like, all right, I'll look, and it's silly, but yeah, I did make sure that I put I think I've got Falcon in here. Yeah, I've got Falcon, I've got White Tiger, Cassandra Cain, a Eurasian, yeah, and stuff like that. But yeah, they wanted Kamala Khan in there, so I was like, fine, I'll do the origin story. But which I still think is a good story if you just looked at that without all the horrible garbage that the character has become and gone on to since then. So, yep. Short answer is yes. So all right, well, I'm gonna cap it off at that. I'm losing my voice a little bit, but thank you guys for hanging out. I definitely always appreciate you guys. Love your interactions. Appreciate your support. These Friday night streams will continue. These are a lot of fun. People seem to like it. And next week, I will say for Friday, it's going to be the weekend before Father's Day. So next Friday night stream, if any new releases or new information or whatever comes up, I might address that. But the general gist of that stream is going to be, where are all our father figures, our good father figures in fiction? What have they done to our Jonathan Kents, and our our characters that prove that father figures make for good hero creations, in their progeny and whatnot. So we'll talk about that in depth next Friday. That's going to be fun. So thanks everyone for hanging out. It's been a blast. I'll see you in my videos and my streams to come. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.